Hey there, welcome back to this Intro to Seaborn series. In this video, we're talking about the Seaborn Relplot. Relplot stands for relational plot, so that you can show off relationships between your variables. With it, you'll gain access to both of Seaborn's relational plots, the scatterplot and the line plot. With the Relplot, you'll also be able to create what are called small multiples, because the Relplot is built on top of Seaborn's FacetGrid. So let's check it out and get started with the basics of the Seaborn Relplot code. To start coding, I'll import the Seaborn library and give it an alias. By the way, all of the code I'm about to show you is available on my GitHub page. Once that's done, I'll load in a dataset from the Seaborn library, and these data are about passengers of the Titanic. So you can see we have various different features about the passengers, such as their class, their sex, age, how much they paid for their ticket, and so on. And I'm just going to create one new column in this data frame. I'm going to call that decade. Basically, it's just an age group bucket. So for example, everyone in their 20s, 30s, and so on will be bucketed appropriately. And I'm really just doing this so I can aggregate over more passengers when looking for trends later. I will set my Seaborn style to be white, and we're ready to create our very first rel plot. To do that, we'll reference the Seaborn library and the Relplot. And now I need to just let Seaborn know what will be my X and Y variables. For me, I'm going to plot the age of the passenger on the X-axis and the fare that they paid for their ticket on the Y. And all of that data is coming from my data frame, which is called df. So you can see by default, Seaborn has created a scatter plot, and that is the default type of plot when you are creating a rel plot. We have one different dot for every single passenger. We see their age on the X and the fare that they paid on the Y. So I really want to do this just to see if I can find some relationship between age and fare. Not a whole lot in these data, but sometimes you might see a positive or negative correlation here. So we haven't seen much of a relationship between age and fare so far, but one thing that definitely does make a big difference in the amount that people paid for their tickets is their class on board. So if you've seen my videos about Seaborn before, you know that Seaborn has all kinds of ways to plot out categorical variables. So let's actually change the hue or color of these dots based on their values in the P class column. So passengers can either be in class 1, 2, or 3, and you can see that those that paid higher fares were in class 1, while those that pay lower fares were in class 3 mostly. So hue is one way that you can represent different categories. For a scatter plot, you also have access to this property called style. Let's do that to P class as well. And what we'll see now is that we've got 3 different style markers for the 3 different classes, so either a dot, an X, or a square. And finally, you have one third option. This is called size, and so we'll set this to P class as well. And now the size of the marker also relates to their class, the smallest markers being first class, all the way up to third class, which are slightly larger. So lots of different options if you do want to show off categorical variables in your rel plot. But like I said in the beginning of this video, besides scatter plots, you also have access to the line plot. And you can switch this within the rel plot by referencing this argument called kind. So if we set kind equal to line, we will switch over to the line plot. There we go. And this is quite different than the scatter plot, right? So before we had one dot for every single passenger. What Seaborn has done now is actually aggregated the passengers based on their age and then tried to come up with a mean value of how much they paid. Right now we have quite a bit of variance in these data. So what we might do instead of aggregating based on age, which is quite granular, we could switch over to that new column that I created called decade. Now we're grouping passengers up by their decades, so 20s, 30s, 40s, etc. We have more passengers within each bucket, so now we're able to see a smoother line, and we're actually able to start seeing a bit of a trend now that we've decreased the granularity. We can see that passengers paid a little bit more, those that were in their 50s and 60s, as compared to those that were younger. With the line plot, you can also show off categories. Hue still works, so let's switch this over to P class. And we'll see 3 different lines with different colors. So again, we're grouping passengers up by their age group and then performing a process called bootstrapping to get these nice confidence intervals. You'll see that passengers in the 3rd class paid much lower on average than those in the 1st class. With the line plot, you also have access to style, so we could switch this to P class as well. You'll see that each of the lines is now plotted with a different style, for example, a solid, a dashed, or a dotted line. So with the Relplot, you get access to both the scatter plot and the line plot, but you can also create small multiples because the Relplot is built on top of the FacetGrid. So let's check that out in the Seaborn codes. Let's say that we've got age and fare once again, and we know that the passenger's class, or P class, is really important. We could use a property, either row or column, to create one small facet for each and every passenger class. So here, let's try it out. If we set call or column to P class, we will now create 3 separate little plots, one for each of the different classes. And this is really nice if you have very different trends for each of the different classes. For example, here, passengers in the 2nd and 3rd class are basically paying the same. Passengers in the 1st class are really varying on how much they paid in fare. And so being able to separate these data out really allows us to see that a lot more easily. Of course, the same can be done with the line plot. Right now we have decade and fare plotted out, and we could once again create one different column or facet for these P classes. And there we go. So 1st class, 2nd, and 3rd. Once again, this could be really helpful if you have very different trends for the various different classes. So right now we've created different columns, but of course you could create different rows as well by switching that to be row. One additional argument of the FacetGrid that I haven't actually mentioned in any of my videos yet is called call wrap, and this is super useful. So let's say that you've picked out a feature such as deck for the column, and deck actually has many different categories in it, 7 different categories. Because I have 7 different facets here, they're really small and really hard to see. So there's an argument called call wrap, which allows us to wrap those facets around. So I'm going to set call wrap equals to 3. Here's how this works. I'll start with my facets, deck A, deck B, deck C. Once I get to 3 of those facets, I'll drop down into the next row. So I'm basically just wrapping my column every 3rd facet. Once I hit 3 again, I'll drop down to the next row. So this is really great if you happen to have a feature with a lot of different categories. You can just wrap those columns around and you don't need to create any fancy splitting of your data. You can style the Relplot by passing keyword arguments directly to the plots you're creating. Or you can style it through the FacetGrid. So let's check it out in code. So like usual, there's lots and lots that you can do for styling with the Relplot. Right now, I've created a Relplot based on the age and fare of each passenger, and I've also split this up into 3 different columns for the various P classes. One thing that this dataset is often used for is a classification problem. There's an additional feature called survived that lets us know if the passenger survived the Titanic disaster. So we could color these dots based on that column. Let's set hue equal to survived. So now we have blue dots for those that did not survive and orange for those that did. So now let's use the properties of the scatter plot to style this figure. Any additional keyword arguments that I pass in here will be passed through to the individual scatter plots. So for example, if I want to increase the size of those dots, that's a property called S, and I can set that to be 150. I might also decide that I want to change the color palette of this plot, and let's actually set this to be a list. For those that did not survive, I'll use the color black, and for those that did survive, I'll use the color red. Additionally, we might decide that instead of using circles, we'd like triangles. To do that, we'll set marker equal to this caret sign. And we could just continue doing whatever styling we'd like, so any of these additional keyword arguments are just being passed through to the scatter plot. I mentioned before that you can also show off categorical variables based on the style and size of these markers. So what we can do for that, let's set style equal to survived. So this is actually coming from our data frame from the column survived. And what this has done, now all of the ones that did not survive are given a circle and those that did survive are given an X. But maybe I'd like just the reverse of that. So if I'm using this style property and I want to change the markers that are being used for each different category, The way I can change that is this property called markers. Okay, so now this would actually take in a list, whatever I'd like the marker to be for the first category, so let's say an X, and whatever I'd like the marker to be for the second category, maybe an O. Now we've just switched everything so that those that did not survive are given an X, and those that did survive have a dot. And you can actually do the same thing if you were displaying sizes. You could set those sizes yourself through the sizes property and potentially by passing in a list. You can also style the line plot quite a bit as well. So right now what I have are the various different decades of our passengers, and then on the y-axis I've actually put in the survived column. What this is doing is actually giving me a sense of the percentage of people who survived from each age bucket. So because I'm averaging over those zeros and ones, I end up with a percent. It turns out that I don't actually have many passengers that are 70 or older, so let's actually reduce this data frame down just so that we're not getting any false impressions with too few data points. Now I'm just looking at folks that are under 70 years of age. One other thing that turns out to be very important for this data set is whether the passenger is listed as a male or female. So for example, if I switch the hue over to the sex column, now we have much higher rates of survival for the females than we do for the males. So we can continue styling this line plot however we'd like. Just remember that any extra keyword arguments you pass in now will go to the line plot. So for example, if you want to turn the confidence intervals off, you could set CI to be none. But we also have the option of changing the FacetGrid styling. So the Relplot actually returns an object, let's call it G, and if we take a look at the type of that object, it is a facet grid. So just like the cat plot, the Relplot also returns a facet grid, which means that we could continue styling this plot using facet grid styling. And there's lots of different facet grid methods and attributes that you can set. Let's, for example, set the X labels with the facet grid method. And right now we have decade written at the X labels, but maybe we want to change that to be something more descriptive. So passenger age group, for example. And that will go ahead and update our X label. Let's change our Ys as well. So that's set Y labels. And maybe let's set that to be percent survived. One of the big benefits of using these facet grid methods to update your X and Y labels is that let's say later on you go back to this figure and you now want to create some small multiples based on the passenger's class. The nice thing about this is that all of those X labels for each individual facet will be appropriately updated. So I hope you enjoyed learning all about the Seaborn Relplot. If you're still curious about the facet grid or about the line plot, go ahead and check out my past videos about those. And that line plot video has a whole section where I describe how those confidence intervals are built using bootstrapping. So thanks so much, and I will see you in the next one. Or you can have a horn honk at you.